I know it's a little dark in here, but I think you'll get the idea. For perspective, as you can see, I don't know, sometimes there's too much light, isn't there? That's the door. I got the door cut out right there. So that right here is the door side seat. You can tell because, let me work this backwards. That's always on the door side. It's got that little backrest. It really isn't a backrest. I don't know why it's there. But it's there. Maybe it just holds the cushions in. All right, but we're not concerned with that today. What we're concerned with is over on this side. So, right in here, in this area, it's going to be approximately 35 and a quarter-ish, and that's where our kitchen's going to go. So I've got to make a kitchen and a counter right here, and it's going to go right across here. It's going to go all the way from the bed directly over to the seating, as it always does. And then above that is going to be the counter like we always build. Not breaking any new ground on this deal. Where we are going to break some new ground, at least on this channel, is over here. Look at this opening. This right here, this is our standard Scotty template for our table. You look at most of the early Scotties, if not all, but not all, they're going to look just like this. Very similar. So we would want to replicate this. And so it would have to sit right here. Well, look, that's just not going to work for us. Because remember, Franken Scotty, well, regular Scotty is around 74, 75 on the inside. Franken Scotty here is going to be closer to, or exactly, because we've squared it up the best we can, it's 83. 83. So we're not going to take this table, so really that's about 8 or 9 inches wider than the Scotties we build. This is approximately 32. Once we get the trim around it, it's going to be 32. So that extra 8-9 inches has to come from somewhere. Well, we're not going to make these any wider. Our seats can't be any wider. Otherwise, I mean, this is comfortable enough. If we get it any wider, we're going to be, and we're not going to be comfortable. And we want to be comfortable in our camper. That's why we go camping. So that has to come from somewhere. We can't, I guess you could make your table wider, but I think that right here when you're sleeping, that's kind of where your rear end goes. And when you go to get up, your pivot point is your rear end. So all of your weight is right there. I don't think that's a good idea. That's why they went with 32 on all their, maybe that's not why, but I think that's one of the reasons that they went with 32 on all of their tables. They found that probably works. I really never get broken tables in here. So we're going to stick with 32. So we've got to find that extra 8 or 9 inches. Now, let me turn the camera over here a little bit. All right. So if we look right here, we've got our normal, how we're comfortable putting in our kitchen. That's not going to change. Well, it is going to come out 20 or 21 inches, which is really pretty close to the edge right here. So if we pull this out to here, let's go maybe one more inch. Let's say that we're about 8.5 right there. Let's go back over here and see if we're close. We're real close, so we could actually go about right there. So using that template, I think we're pretty good on where that measurement should be. So let's go over here, and we're looking at 7 3/4. 7 3/4 is what we need to bridge the gap. Now, if you remember, I think it was back on that Aristocrat we did early on. They're really wide, those Aristocrats are. And so we did the same thing, except over here, we put in a little, kind of just a buffer spot. So we're not gonna make it, we'll make a shelf on the top, but there won't be any storage because your back's gonna go against it. So that's really gonna be your backrest. And it'd be nice to have a little shelf. I don't know, you could put things up there. People do in Aristocrats and other campers. So if we're only coming out, we're gonna still only come out to about here. That'll still give us room to get beyond the kitchen. Just slide right in here. We'll still have all of our room to sit down. We're gonna have the exact same dinette seating, and I think we'll be okay. It should work. So we're gonna try that. I'm gonna get working on that right now. So 7 3/4, and I've got to figure out a height because generally we only have these at about 32 because we have about 5 3/4 in our drop down. Well, our drop down is now 8. So 32 plus, let's just say 6 would have been 38. And we got to take 3 off of that. So 35 is what our total should be. So we just take that 3, make this 29. From here to here, we'll put that here. Curly, I'm filming here, son. Thank you. Woo, I'm gonna get you with this tape measure. So if we're going 29 to here, that's still pretty close. I may adjust that, but we just need to know that we cannot go higher than the table. We need to go under, the kitchen countertop. We need to go lower than that for our shelf because we do want a little bit of lip coming out of here. So then we got to make sure we're under our window, which we should be plenty under the window. It's going to be about here. Taking those two things into consideration, we got to build 3/4 of a box, 7 3/4 by however tall we decide it's going to be. I'm going to do that right now, and I'll take you back through it. I took my measurement. Now this is not the door side, and I roughly marked out where the window is. And this is where, we went too far. This is one side going over to here, and then there's the up right there. This is where our window is. We don't want to inhibit the window at all because we got to put a little trim ring around it. So we're going to be coming down to there. I measured on the inside. Our friend Andrea and her husband are at least my height, probably a few inches taller. So I made it at least comfortable for me. And you could see I kind of ran that screw right in there between these two sheets. I'll pull that out. That's just for my notice. And then I ran this line from the bottom of the window all the way across so that I know that I cannot get near that. I have to go below that line to make our little shelf over here. That's going to give us our proper dinette. So I have got to go, so really that's about 1 1/8 that the window is at. I would say we probably have to go at least 2 1/2 inches below this screw on the inside. I should cut that window out. It'd make it easier to film, wouldn't it? All right, let's go in here. So that's where that screw is. I figure that at this height, you gotta see, this is comfortable. Hey, I'm chopping vegetables, blah, 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 whatever. And that'll come out. We'll go down about 2 1/2 inches. We'll come over here, put those measurements on the wall, and then we'll work on cutting out our shelf. Now, here's what's gonna be tough. Catching that curve. Because that's gotta hit that curve. I'll show you a little trick that'll help us get close. what we've got to do is we've got to get this curve. We can always trim up on the inside, but the closer we get the curve right here, the nicer it's going to look on the inside. I think a lot of it's going to be covered up by the upholstery, but we want to do the best we can for our customer. So what I did was, I came down from our screw here, and I took our measurement for what our shelf should be, and I came down here, measured the floor. This is where the floor is on the inside. You can't even see that. Hey, good camera work. Good job, Rob. You're the best in town. There we go. Now you can see it. Down here. So that's where the floor is. So what I want to do to catch this curve is, let's see, take this here. I'm going to follow it on the line as close as I can get it, but then I've got to take it out to the very edge of the bump. And then come back 1/8 of an inch because that's where our luan is. And luan's on the inside, not on the outside. So we need to leave that. So I'm going to put this as close as I can, which should be right there. Check my front measurement, which should be okay. I'm going to take and put a couple of, better do that up here. All right, so that's going to hold that on. Next thing I want to do, let me see if I can get you a camera angle on this deal here. What's that look like? Not bad. All right, so I've got to trim this. So I'm going to come up here. Not to make a little mark right here because our windowsill, if you want to call it that, is in the way. So we'll come down here. This is going to come off. And then same thing down here. That's coming off. And we're going to kind of know, and I'll come underneath and do the same thing I did up there. Mark this on the bottom. Now, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take my jigsaw. That's what I'm thinking about, jigsaw. Take my jigsaw, trim that off. Now I'll take it inside, and then I'll probably have some sanding to do. I'll get the belt sander for that. If you don't have a belt sander, that thing makes some of these jobs a whiz. I'm telling you right now, get you a belt sander. Wait till they're on sale at Harbor Freight, though. You don't use them that much, but when you use them, you like them. So I'm going to get that together, and I'll show you what we're doing. All right, I've got it roughed in. This honeybee thinks it looks sweet. Anyway, here's the bottom view. You can see I kind of braced it up. These will be going against the wall. This is the floor against the wall. It's our little notch out for that one board that runs across the front of the whole trailer. And it's going to be 7.5 inches wide. That's where we went. And here's the top. This will be stained. So she's going to let me do a little stain on this one. It's not going to be 100% white. So I feel like I'm better friends with old Andrea now. This top part will be white though to go with everything else. And you're really, well, here's that curve. There's a curve. Let me see if I can get this without getting stung by our honeybee up there. So here's kind of how I braced it up, because you'll be leaning against it a little bit. And this is going to be a countertop, of course. And I'll probably run some aluminum trim around there just to trim it up and make it look nice, because I kind of like that when that's done, especially with any kind of well, the fella really likes it. It's sweet, isn't it, buddy? Yeah. All right, so I got a little bit of putty on here drying because we're going to paint that front. And really, we've only got to paint from about here up because the back of the seating is going to be from here down. So we don't have to worry about making that all beautiful and everything because it's natural wood, and we already know that that's beautiful. So you can kind of see how that curve is right there. And that's what's going to be facing towards the door side. So I wanted you to see that before, because I don't know how long I'm going to wait to paint it, because I'm going to get a few other pieces done. I try to, knock all that paint out at once, because you know how I feel about painting. And nobody seems to be running over here to volunteer either. So there it is. Well, a little bonus footage. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but I could put it in here. I don't have to install it. There's what it's going to look like. Kind of looks like a diner seating, which I guess dinette, diner, I don't know. But there's what's going to look like installed once we get everything painted. Because we got to paint that. We got to paint that. You know, we don't paint our seats, never do. That's going to be painted. Part of that will be painted. That'll be stained. And right here's our opening for our kitchen. So now we can, 100% measure our kitchen. And I think I'm going to start on the kitchen right now. I think that's going to be my next step. Anyway, hey, thanks for swinging by. Gives me a couple more days to be creative, and I'll put something together for you.